This is Emptiness. I call this an apple. If I was a German, I'd call it an Apfel. This is what I call 2 apples. And this is what I would call 3 apples. Normally you can use these to eat with, but you can also count with them. 1, 2, 3. These things here are called rods, Cuisenaire rods. One yellow one, 2 yellow ones, 3 yellow rods. 3. Already I'm doing something which is really quite complex, because I called this 1, then I said there were 2, then I said there were 3. There's a certain quality about this group and this group, which is the same, and it's this thing which we call threeness. So that has this quality of 3, and this has this quality of 3. If you try and do this with a baby, they have no concept of what you're talking about, this quality of threeness. It doesn't take all that long for young children to figure out that this is 3 apples and this is 3 rods, but nevertheless, it is quite a complex, initially, idea. And where has it come from, this idea? It's come out of emptiness. It's a kind of game that we play. You can match these things up, and if you can match them up perfectly, we call this threeness. This is two-ness, and this is oneness. Okay? But that's kind of a sideline. So this is 1 apple, and this is 1 rod. You can count with both of them, like we said. 1, 2, 3, 4 goes on forever. 1, 2, 3, 4 goes on forever. With this little thing here, because it's got some friends which are kind of similar, they're not the same, they're all this same shape which people call cuboid, which also comes out of emptiness and doesn't really exist. For example, this is a cuboid, true, but if you examine it really carefully, say you look at the edges of it with an electron microscope, you'll find the edges aren't really completely, perfectly straight. They're all jagged. But a cuboid is something which exists in our minds, which is a perfect form of this thing. So this isn't a perfect cuboid. The perfect cuboid only exists in our minds. But we can call it a cuboid. We're playing the game of calling these things cuboids. And we're calling these things here, they're all kind of friends together, aren't they? And with these rods, there's a group of them here. There's 10 of them. If you measure all of them with this little rod here, then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I forgot to put a 7. 7, 8, 9, 10. It's got 10 little friends. That's all there is. That's all Cuisenaire rods are. They're 10 little different coloured cuboids. You can make them out of wood, plastic, anything you like. It doesn't really matter. I like these ones. These are made of wood. These are the original ones. These are more than 40 years old. They still look beautiful, don't they? I like the feel of them. Anyway, now then, if I get, say, 2 of them. No, I know, 3 of them. You could call that size 1, size 2, size 3. Depends what you're measuring with. If you measure with this one, this is 2. And if you measure with this little one, this is 3. So you could go 1, 2, 3. But you could go 1, 2, 3, like we did before. If we're counting, you can go 1, 2, 3. Or you could go 1, 2, 3. Or you could go 1, 2, 3. But if you're measuring, it's been so designed, these little rods, that they're very good for measuring one with the other. Whereas apples, they're not all that good for measuring. This is quite good for measuring. They use these quite a lot for measuring. And you could actually use these for measuring, because they're all, the green ones, they're all the same, basically. I mean, they're same enough. They're not actually the same, because this one might have a bit of black paint on it or something. But we could play the game and call them all the same. So these are quite good for measuring, really. These are quite good for measuring purposes. But apples, they're not very good for measuring. I mean, if the apples were all exactly the same, it wouldn't be all that bad to measure with apples. But people don't generally measure with apples. Ah, well, yes. So these little things, the rods, these are particularly good for measuring things. I've moved this. Particularly good for measuring things. If I decide to.